All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're tearing down the narrative blueprint of King of America, an incredibly thrilling 15-minute cinematic crime story outline. We're going to look at the exact anatomy of how a truly compelling story is built, literally from the very first opening frame all the way to the closing credits. Picture this: late at night, rain pouring down, completely empty streets. You've just got this slow, ominous procession of black luxury cars gliding into an underground parking garage. Notice how this opening hook instantly establishes a dark, mysterious mood before our main character even steps out of the car. It immediately tells us exactly what kind of world we're entering. We don't even know the protagonist's name yet, but the atmosphere alone commands our attention and sets this heavy tone of wealth mixed with shadows.
Part 1: The Hook and the Rise. Victor's Origins.
So who is this guy? Meet Victor King, a powerful, insanely intimidating crime boss. What's truly interesting here is how Victor is painted visually before we know anything of substance about him. The black suit, the dark sunglasses, the thick beard, and those heavy, expensive gold chains. This specific blueprint creates an aura where everyone falls completely silent the exact moment he arrives. Storytellers use these bold visual cues to establish dominance right out of the gate. He doesn't have to say a single word. His design does the heavy lifting, instantly marking him as a man of formidable power.
Now, the story doesn't just give us a bad guy. It pulls us in emotionally by mapping out his evolution across these really distinct phases. We start with a difficult childhood, move into his teenage years as a poor young man, see him in his 20s as a fiercely loyal friend, and finally witness his arrival as a feared crime boss in his 30s. Showing the ambition and the tough choices that dragged him into the criminal underworld creates instant empathy. He isn't just some one-dimensional villain. He's a self-made product of a really difficult environment. Moving on to Part 2: Building the Underground Empire. Luxurious Lifestyle.
Okay, so once that emotional foundation is laid down, the story hits the gas. The narrative accelerates by practically bombarding us with this rapid list of luxuries. We're talking expensive cars, exclusive private meetings, an absolute army of bodyguards, massive offices, gold jewelry, and those secret nighttime deals. The blueprint specifically calls for these elements because they contrast so sharply with his poor beginnings. It's essentially a psychological overcompensation. The narrative uses this wealth as a visual shield. He has surrounded himself with all these things so he never, ever has to feel like that helpless, poor young man again. But here's a really crucial takeaway from this blueprint. The whole empire is built on secret deals, dangerous rivalries, and purely fictional crimes. The writers were super intentional about keeping the spotlight completely on the drama, the character tension, and the consequences. It specifically avoids glorifying real crimes or giving any kind of real-world how-to instructions. It's a brilliant reminder that the absolute best thrillers are about high-stakes human drama and the crushing weight of the characters' choices, not the boring, mechanical details of the crimes themselves. All right, Part 3: Rivals and Hidden Betrayals, the Ultimate Threat. And that brings us to the central conflict. Because every king needs a challenger, right? On one side, you have Victor King, self-made, deeply loyal to a small inner circle, and operating by a strict street code. On the other side, you have his biggest rival, Michael Cross. Cross is a ruthless businessman with these vast, hidden criminal connections. It's a total clash of two totally different worlds: Victor's street-level loyalty versus Cross's cold, ruthless corporate criminality. This contrast ensures that when they inevitably collide, it isn't just a fight for territory, it's a massive clash of ideologies. But you know what? The true suspense doesn't actually come from Cross at all. The real biting question here is, who is the secret traitor sitting right at Victor's own table? This is where the outline hooks us completely. The most dangerous threat isn't the rival outside the gates. It's a shocking internal betrayal from someone in his own small, trusted group of friends. It forces us as the audience to lean in, scrutinize literally every interaction, and constantly ask, who is secretly working against him? Paranoia becomes the absolute driving engine of the whole story. Which leads us to Part 4. The Empire Collapses. Untouchable no more. That intense internal paranoia, it directly triggers his downfall.
The narrative tightens the news sequentially through 4 very distinct, terrifying steps. First, the tension of police surveillance. You feel the eyes on him. Then, step 2, the paranoia of secret meetings and mysterious phone calls. Third, the escalation as witnesses literally start to disappear. And finally, the tipping point. A totally unexpected piece of evidence surfaces. This step-by-step structure builds incredible dramatic suspense as the detectives connect the dots, and Victor watches his meticulously built world just crumble around him.
Which brings us to the ultimate payoff, the final climax. Now, the blueprint insists on this being an incredibly dramatic, bloodless climax. There's no reliance on graphic gore here at all. Instead, it's this intense, deeply emotional confrontation between Victor, his rival Cross, the investigating police, and of course, the traitor. Victor has to discover the shocking truth about his betrayer face to face and deal with the ultimate consequences of his lifestyle. By prioritizing emotional devastation over physical violence, it makes for a much, much more memorable conclusion.
Finally, part 5. Power never lasts forever, facing consequences. Because ultimately, you guys, this story isn't just about a cool crime boss. It's really about moral consequence told through a cinematic lens. Think back to our opening hook, that whole fleet of black luxury cars demanding respect and silence. Now look at this mysterious final shot. Victor's black luxury car, totally abandoned, just sitting all alone on a dark, empty city street. It brings the story full circle perfectly. This singular, powerful image proves that despite all his efforts to shield himself, his wealth, and his reputation, absolutely could not protect him from the consequences of his choices.
This powerful final narrator message perfectly sums up the thematic core of the whole saga, right? Victor King spent years believing he owned the city, but in the end, he learned the one rule every king eventually discovers: power never lasts forever. It's such a haunting reminder of the fleeting nature of unchecked ambition. The blueprint just leaves the audience sitting with this profound realization. So, as we wrap up this explainer on how beautifully this narrative was constructed from rise to ruin, I really want to leave you with a question to ponder. What are the metaphorical empires we relentlessly build in our own lives today? And honestly, what happens when the illusion of our own untouchability is finally shattered?